guys, welcome to episode 13. I'm so excited to have Colin and Vidya in this episode again after having them last week. So, for those who tuned into last week's episode, we were talking about breakup stages. Today, we are going to be talking about more practical skills in terms of how you can get through those stages that we talked about last week and kind of talk about like what we have done or what people we know have done to kind of get through breakups. So, this is going to be a very insightful conversation. And as always, you take what you can get from this. Maybe you relate more with Colin or like you relate more with Vidya. You take more from those people and maybe you relate with me and you can take some points. So really, really excited to have Colin and Vidya back. Colin, how's it going?
Michelle, I'm excited to be back. I heard we got positive feedback last week, so I'm here for the encore, ready to do it.
Hey, let's go. Vid, what's up?
I'm so excited to be back too. I can't believe we're doing a part 2 of a breakup episode, but this is amazing. Thanks for having us back.
Listen, I just want to thank you guys because I think, obviously, as we all know, breakups are just so difficult to go through. And it's really nice to have people who are able to articulate, like the emotional aspects of everything, right? Like talking about the pain that people go through and just being able to share what you've learned from your experience to help somebody else out there so that they don't have to go through the pain on their own. So definitely appreciate you, wise people. So without further ado, we are going to jump into some of those practical tips. So I'm going to go first. And I think one thing that comes to mind for me, just looking back at like breakups I've had and what has helped me get through them is reducing contact or like giving myself space or like giving each other space, right? Me and like the person who I'm going through this breakup with. And I think, from person to person, this is going to look different. I think for me, kind of like what I said last week, after getting my big questions out of the way, like answered by the person who's transitioning from my boyfriend to my ex-boyfriend, right? I do need to like feel like there's a detachment completely. So for me, what that looks like is, social media, for example, right? One of those things for me is on social media, taking Instagram, for example. I know myself. And if I post a photo, I'm always just going to be looking to see if my ex has liked it. Because in as much as we're broken up, I still want to know, like, does he still think I'm cute? Like, is he still interested in me? So I would still definitely be like looking at my list of likes to see if this person said anything. Or if I post a story, I'll still just like look to see, oh my gosh, like, has he seen it? If he's seen it, like, why hasn't he said anything? And then on the other side too, for me, I'm like, okay, if I don't want to get to that point where my ex starts posting, photos or like videos with other girls and I'm seeing it, because at that point it's like right in my face, right? So I just don't want to go through that. So that's one part of contact for me, is like the social media. And then the other part of it is just trying not to text this person, or trying not to like call them, because again, I just feel like, the more I text and continue to have contact with that person, especially right after the breakup happens, it won't really click that the breakup has happened. And I'm not one to easily transition into friendship. So yeah, so that's what I think. And then in terms of like, okay, what has helped in the past when it comes to like not texting my ex or not calling, I think friends have helped because they'll tell me, okay, don't text. I think something else that has helped me is, sometimes you do have to just rename the person in your phone. And I mean, not with recent exes, but like, back in the day, like sometimes I would have to rename someone like do not text or like do not call this person ever. Right. So whenever I do feel tempted to text the person, it's a constant reminder because their name is not even there anymore. It says like, do not text or like, do not call this person. I think something else too might be just like deleting the number. Because I know, okay, like back home in Zim, I would always remember people's numbers. But here, for some reason, I don't know if it's the phone numbers are just way longer or what. If I delete the number, there's a high chance that I won't remember what the person's number is. So if they're not saved in my phone, then it's kind of hard for me to contact them. But yeah, any thoughts on that, guys?
I agree with that, actually. I think it's important that as you're taking time to process the relationship and think through everything, you really need time to be like by yourself and not distracted or tempted into interactions with the other person, because that'll just prevent you from doing more productive processing and having time to think. And I really agree with that. Something I would kind of add to that is, you mentioned more, direct reminders like social media and texting. I think that also goes for maybe things you have around, your apartment or house or whatever, like things they might have left behind if you have pictures or, um, things you shared together. I think even getting rid of those things helps as well, because it gets rid of reminders of your relationship that you had and gives you really the kind of a new environment that you can be you and move on. So I think it
Hmm.
even goes beyond like social media and texting and communication kind of stuff. Even like with sentimental things you might keep around your house, I think it's important to eliminate those reminders as well.
I like that a lot. Yeah. I think, well, like Vidya and I, like we've had conversations about this, and I know Vid and I are pretty different in terms of how we handle this. So Vid, you would definitely jump in and tell us how you handle things. But I know for me, if I continue to have photos like in my gallery and I continue to have like all the text and stuff like that, I just go back and I just keep reliving each of those moments, right? Like, oh, well, we were so happy, and like, oh, I remember what happened when we took this photo together. And I think with things like photos, things like text, just rereading what a great time you used to have, it can be really, really hard to let go because yeah, like you're still reminding yourself of the good times that you had with someone and like still reliving every single moment that you had with them. That for me personally, I'm like, okay, sometimes I just need to clear out the photos. And I mean, this is what I also say, that when it comes to like photos, I have some photos that are like saved in, I guess, like maybe on the cloud or something, somewhere where I would need to like do more work to access the photos. Like I have photos maybe on my Google Drive. Um, and I never deleted those, right? But the ones that I access the most would be the photos that are directly in my gallery. So those ones I definitely like clean out just so I don't keep going back. But yeah, Vid, I know you're pretty different on this, so let's hear your take.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to say from your practical thoughts on and tips on how to take space is, so besides putting the person as do not save and whatnot, another thing I think was helpful for me was I just had like notes on my phone dedicated to this person. So every time I was tempted to text, I would just drop it on the notes. So in
That's
a
so
way, I had
smart.
yeah, in a way, I had an avenue to express what I feel. I saw those words, and it just all it was all there, but it just didn't go to the person, which is good. No damage done. But I still have a way to express those thoughts, so that helped me too. Like just in wanting to take space and
Hmm.
temptation of texting. Coming back to your question or thought on like deleting photos, so yes, I am not one to do that. Because I think like this person was like a legit chapter of my life, and there are people who stayed through a big piece of my life, like key inflection points of my adult life. So I feel like it's not like I want to keep the photo to tell myself like, oh, I want to go back to this time. It's sort of honoring and owning, okay, I have become this person now. That was an actual past of my life which happened, and I'm gonna honor and own it, but I'm not like looking at it to see if it's gonna rekindle any feelings. I will say though, I'm not gonna look at it like when I'm fresh off the breakup where I'm like so vulnerable, because that's a tough, tricky part
Hmm.
where sometimes you can reread text and look at photos and feel a certain way. So I wouldn't do that, but at the same time, I'm not one to like get rid of it entirely, if that makes sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's good that like I think ultimately, like, just from what you've said, you and I are trying to get to the same place. We just get to it
Yep.
differently. I think maybe for me, when I have the photos right in my gallery, right? Like the moment, let's say I take a photo right now and I'm with my friends and I'm now looking at the photos in my gallery, I'm gonna see the photos with the photos of me and this person, right? So I don't have the self-control to not click on the photo in my gallery. Whereas for you, I think you have the self-control to be like, okay, it's still fresh right now, and I'm just not going to click and like live in this moment. Whereas I know for me, if the photos are there and they're accessible, like I'm just gonna click and want to see. And I think like for me also, a big part of it is that it just hurts, especially if I'm
Mm.
on the other side where like I was the one who was broken up with, right? Because now I'm looking at the photos and it just brings back like maybe a lot of questions or like a lot of sadness of like, oh wow, things were so good and what happened. But kudos to you, Vid, because I think your self-control is on point.
I will say that after a considerable amount of time, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, whatever that time is,
Hmm.
I don't have any attachment to these photos, so I don't keep them all. Like I do delete photos. Not It's not like I keep all of them, but
Hmm.
I'm just not a believer of deleting them all. I just want to let that be known.
The way you're saying it, she said a believer. You make it seem like it's a cult. It's not a cult, people. Okay, and maybe I do more of like a soft delete because, like I said, I think I have some things backed up somewhere on the Google Drive. Don't tempt me to go there and check my
No.
photos.
I actually agree with that. I mean, I think it's good that you keep the photos like saved in an archive, basically
Yeah,
somewhere. They're there. You know, they're part of your history, so you want to save them. But just not have them be so accessible when the breakup is so raw and you're vulnerable, and those photos or other sentimental things you might have, just sting a little too much in that moment. You need some time before you can open them back up again. So you kind of need to put it in like a little archive somewhere, and you come back to it when you're ready.
I like that. And Colin, actually, something that you brought up earlier when you were talking was the whole thing of eliminating reminders, and some of those reminders could be gifts that you got from this person. So, what's kind of like your philosophy on that? Like, after a breakup, are you one to like? Do you believe in like returning the gifts you got from this person, or because you got them while you were together, you just keep them, but after a breakup, you don't look at those gifts often?
So I guess it depends on the gift, but I say honestly, for the most part, like you keep the gifts that they gave you, and they should keep the gifts that you gave them. Like I'm a believer that if you give someone something, you are giving it to them, whether have a future together or not. Like that's kind of the risk you take when you give someone something.
Yeah.
Um, and so my approach is with all the gifts and little things I have, like it's similar approach with the photos. I'll keep them if I like them, and kind of save them in a little like box or drawer or little in a box like in the back of my closet or something, and just keep it tucked away. It's there, but it's not like in my face all the time. When I'm ready, I can go back and look at them, months or a couple years from now, and look back on them. But basically, keep them tucked away somewhere, so they're not like right in my face all the time.
I like that a lot. And when you were talking, you said it also depends on the type of gift. And in my mind, I'm like, listen, if my ex bought me a car, if there was a Lamborghini outside, I would not hide that thing. I'll be like, you know what? You broke my heart, but I broke your bank. And I would get into that car and drive wherever. So I agree. It really depends on the type of gift. And I think also maybe for me, there's some gifts that are like that give me stronger reactions, if that makes sense, than others. So for example, if my ex got me like AirPods, right? Like AirPods are like just earphones, right? Like whether or not I got them from him, it doesn't really matter to me because I just use AirPods to listen to music. So maybe whenever I use the AirPods, I would never think that, oh, okay, these AirPods are reminding me of my ex, right? But if it was something like, I don't know, something that I can put on display, maybe, then maybe I might not want to put it somewhere where I see it all the time for a while, just because it reminds me of when I got that gift, how I was feeling when I got that gift, how we were when we were together when he gave me that gift. So I think, yeah, it very much depends. There's some gifts that are just more functional than anything, and then more gifts, and then other gifts that are more sentimental. Vid, what's your take on gifts? Like, how do you handle those?
I think I have similar thoughts with you, Michelle, but in general, I wouldn't return them. I think that opens a different sort of I don't know, potential problem, like, oh, okay. I think it scratches the wound in sometimes not so good ways. It's like one
Whose
thing, like if
wound? Is it your
uh
wound or their wounds?
it depends. If I'm the person who's been broken up with, then probably my wound. And then if I'm the one, wait, between the one who got dumped and the one who dumped, um, yeah, it depends. It's situational in that way, I'd say. But if I were to return the gift from someone that um I I had broken up with, and then that person's gonna be like, "Oh, not only you broke my heart, now you're like returning gifts." I feel that's gonna be painful, and I think, like Colin said, it happened at that time. I also follow that philosophy. It happened during the relationship, so you keep those gifts. But if it's more sentimental in nature, I detach from it. Like I won't give it away, but put it somewhere else, or I just won't I'll make sure it's not part of my day to day view or feel or anything like that. But I wouldn't return gifts, and I wouldn't want people to return my gifts too. I'd feel pretty heartbroken.
I am, you know what, I'm 100% agreeing with you, which is kind of weird because I guess you agreed with me initially, so I'm agreeing with myself. But yes, I think like
You're
totally
consistent.
100%. Yeah, I'm consistent, right? It's a good thing. So I think 100%. If someone gave me a gift and then they asked for it back, I would be heartbroken. Or if I gave them a gift and then they sent it back, I would be like, wow, like this is it. Like you really want to eliminate me completely from your life. So totally agree with you on that. And I think something else that I forgot to to like mention when we were talking about reducing contact um is blocking. And I know blocking brings a lot of strong reactions to people. There have been times in my past where I have blocked people because, maybe it was like the nature of how the breakup happened, or like the anger that I was feeling and stuff like that, or how the other person was acting towards me after the breakup. And I had to block. And then there have been times where like a breakup happens and I don't block the person. Like if they message me, I would still reply, or I could message them. So I guess when it comes to blocking for me, because I guess I've blocked and I've also not blocked. I would just say it also just depends on the situation. So sometimes I think it is necessary. For example, if you're trying to have space from someone and you've explained to them that you're trying to have space, but they just still coming back, and maybe they're just still coming back and like insulting you and stuff like that, and you've tried to be as civil as possible, right? Like you've tried to tell them, hey, like I don't appreciate this stuff,
Mhm.
can you stop? And they keep doing it, then yeah, I think that blocking is necessary. But again, it's like a it's up to you how you feel and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think it's the same. It just depends on what kind of relationship you had with that person, and if it's gonna hurt either party, like if it's hurting you to see the person move on, or the person's hurting to see you move on, if it's just not helping the closure phase in harmony, I mean, it's not gonna be harmonious. Let's face that. But I mean, like in a cordial way where it's healthy for both of you. There's a visible path to move on. If it's gonna be a hurdle, I think blocking is not a bad idea at all.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I would support that if it's gonna help the cause. Um,
It's gonna
uh,
help the cause.
I mean, I know I sound like this is charity, but what I mean to say is, if it's not helping either party to move on, which is what people should, work towards when a breakup happens. Yep, if blocking is gonna be helpful, then I can see why people do that. I have never been in a position to do that, so I can't speak to it.
I see, I
Um,
see.
but I can understand why people do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also actually kind of coming off of what you said, if blocking someone, let's say you've blocked someone, but that's making it harder for you to move on, then you have to unblock them, because maybe the unblocking is what will kind of like give you that release of, okay, you know what? Like this chapter is closed and I don't want to have animosity towards that person. So I think it does
Oh
depend.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's very powerful too. I'm glad you brought that up.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool. So let's talk more about, talking to other people, not in terms of like other relationships, but like, Colin, do you have any thoughts around like who to talk to and what kind of stuff to talk to them about?
Yeah, I mean that would be one of my first sort of practical tips is talking with your kind of close family and friends, like those who you would consider to be in your close sort of trust circle, people who you go to talk about, your most sensitive and confidential, stories and things like that. And really, like, try to get their ear and vent to them if you can on, your feelings and your thoughts about, the relationship. I find that to be very helpful because it's helpful just to have someone else listening to what you're thinking and feeling, because then you don't feel so alone in your head with all this overwhelming emotional material. Like you can release it to somebody who understands you and will, maybe help affirm some of the things you're thinking, or help, say, hey, maybe you should, consider this. Maybe you're not thinking about this right. And it really helps you to, get it out of your head and process it even more productively, what's going on. And the other thing I would say there is, it's also good just to get their perspective on things. Like, okay, you vent and you express, this happened, that happened, I feel this, I feel that, and then you give them a chance to maybe express themselves. Be like, hey, did you consider this, or maybe you should try doing this. And through their perspective, you might, have sort of an enlightenment over, how you should, think about the relationship or how to move on. And, if they're the right people, this can be a very helpful and supportive, part of the process of the breakup and helping you get through.
I think just the importance of being heard and letting the pain you're going through be seen can be very healing and therapeutic in itself. So sometimes just having that safe space, and that can be a friend or your family. I think pain is very universal, actually. Anyone who can hold that pain with you, I think that is enormously healing space in itself. And sometimes it's hard to find that space with people who are emotionally connected with you, because you might feel like there's something in your journey that's going on, and not every I mean, if people, friends and family around you only see as much as you allow them to, but you have all the information in your head. And when you're going through a highly vulnerable and painful process, it's hard to make sure that that person sees all of it and expect them to give you the support you need. So I think in times like that, sometimes having a professional who's not emotionally attached to you can be helpful. I know it's not the same for everyone. Some people would like having that emotional attachment person as support. But for me, I also found it helpful to just have a person who was not emotionally attached to me, but very invested in my well-being and growth, spent and learned time in learning my style and my motivation, and what makes me me. And she tried to build blocks that resonated with me, or just or like literally just help me watch me build blocks. Actually, she didn't like give me what I need. It's more like just nudging me or guiding me in the direction, and I was trying to put all these pieces together. So that was really helpful, because I was the one venting, I was the one talking, giving the person this piece of information, and all that person did was sort of guide me in the direction. That was like a goal, and we worked towards that goal. So I gave her all the information needed, and she just helped me frame a strategy or a structure. And then whenever I would um, fall back, I mean, we're humans, like, you only make so much progress before you take 4 steps back, or something happens and then you're like kind of shaken. So when that happens, and then this person also like picks up on that and then kind of regroups and tells you it's okay, let's change our strategy this way. So it's, I would say, it's actually pretty strategic from like a professional support's point of view. um and it's like very goal driven, and then it's like tweaking along the way. And there's one thing that I've learned is advice and tips I got at the beginning of when I started talking to a therapist was so different, like after a few weeks of talking. And even I was questioning, like, wait, what changed? You told me exactly the opposite at that time. And then she would say stuff like, well, you were in a different place, you were a different person at that time. I have to give you what you need right now, and know that your journey is not going to be one way. It's very fluid, so you sort of have to always check and see what you need at that point. And I think I still carry that philosophy with me until now. Like that resonated with me a lot.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. I think the biggest piece from what you said for me was like having that goal and then driving towards that, and having a professional is good because they can measure the progress that you're making. So I really like that. And I think something that I would add in terms of you know I guess talking slash venting, so I guess this would apply more to say people who are spiritual. So for me, I'm a Christian, and I know after I went through a breakup, it was really hard. Like, I talked to like friends, talked to my brother, but I was still really, really struggling. And so I was at church, and I went because at my church, they have like a prayer team. So I literally like felt, so first of all, okay, with God himself, I was like praying and like crying to God when I was by myself, right? But then it still wasn't enough, and I just had this burden. And when I went to church, there was like a prayer team, and I went to this lady, and literally it was the craziest thing, because like throughout the service, like the church service, I was like doing good, right? Like I wasn't crying or anything like that. And then when I went to the lady who was gonna pray for me, the moment I opened my mouth, like literally the words that came out were, "I'm heartbroken." And before I even finished saying heartbroken, I was already like crying. And I just
Oh,
remember like this lady like just hugged me, and then she like literally prayed over me. Like I could hear every single word that she was saying, and I was like just crying the whole time. But for me, it also helped. So for people who are spiritual, I would say like God definitely is a big part of like healing, whether it's like from breakups or like other things that you might be going through.
oh, that story moved my heart. That's so sweet. So that's what I'm saying. Like pain is so universal. She just like hugged you and got you there. That's really moving.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh man, so deep. How about you, Vid? Other any other big tip that comes to mind?
Um, couple things that personally helped me was like listening, getting more perspective on people. Like I listened to podcasts, I was reading books, and then from there I realized, oh wow, words really move me. Like putting these words together from people who can articulate their thoughts, kind of like sometimes I feel like vocabulary is very powerful. Like you struggle to know what you're feeling or express what you're feeling, and then you read something, you're like, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling, and there's something freeing about that. So then I
Mm,
realized, oh, okay, I think words are so it has such healing impact over me. Then I started writing myself, and that really helped. So yeah, listening to like relationship podcasts or like books on emotional intelligence. Another thing that really helped me was coping with my how my body was giving way. Sometimes when you're so heartbroken, your body just knows what's happening, and it's like it's sort of like trying to catch up with all this information out there. So uh, I started meditating to kind of put my mind in a healthier state. So, like, one mantra that I had is one thing to fuel your mind, one thing to fuel your body, and one thing to fuel your soul to
Come
sort
on,
of.
Queen, say that again. Come on, say that again. Slowly, please, so the people at the back.
All right. So, one mantra that really got me through my darkest days were like one thing to fuel your mind, one thing to fuel your body, and one thing to fuel your soul. And for me, those were, so body was like, I would do yoga, and I had like this one specific coach on this yoga app I used that I absolutely love, because he like incorporates philosophy into the yoga movements. So after yoga, I'd feel like a new person. So that was for body. And then for mind, I would like read, I would meditate, and then I would write. So those things were like keeping me sort of in focus. And then one thing for the soul, I went like searching for past hobbies that really light up like the soul in me to loosely speak about it. So that was like dancing. So I used to do classical dancing like I don't know 8-9 years ago, and then it stopped um because college happened. I moved to America. Like none of that. I didn't pick that up again. But it's such a happy place for me. So I went back to it, and my gosh, it completely changed. Like I got to relearn about myself, and I'm like, this is such a happy place. So that sort of fueled my soul, I would say. And just, going through that cycle really helped me.
I love that. Man, okay, well, first of all, Vidya, there was so much to unpack in everything that you said. And that's a play on words on this podcast at Unpacking Love. Anyway, so when you were talking about, listening to stuff, you mentioned podcasts, you mentioned books. I think something that helped me when I was going through a breakup was even on Instagram/YouTube, their relationship coaches like Matthew Hussey. And sometimes, guys, what you need to hear is like that video that would just let you know that the breakup that happened is good for you. You know what I mean? Like in
Yeah.
your darkest time, sometimes a relationship coach will tell you to look at things in a different way, right? So I think when your whole heart and your whole mind still wants to be with someone, it can be good to just watch a YouTube video of someone who's telling you that, hey, this is actually not the end of the world, even though it feels like it's the end of the world
Yeah.
right now. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel and things will make sense later. So I think just having those relationship coaches definitely helped. Vidya, I loved the whole mind, body, soul thing. I think that was just really, really amazing. And when you talked about, lighting up that fire, I know for you it's like dancing, right? I think finding it's so interesting, right? Because actually, when I think about relationships, well, when the relationship is good, it's like a fire that's burning. It's like love is this uncontrolled fire, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm in love, and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, it's like somebody blows out the flame. Oh, guys, I'm trying to be deep, like Colin
No,
and
it
Vidya
is
here.
deep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yeah, it's
all
like
of a
someone
sudden,
takes a bucket of water and just throws out the fire.
yes, it feels like literally when that ends, it's like somebody, like you said, throws a bucket of water, extinguishes the fire or blows out the candle. And now you just feel like you're in this dark place, right? So it's so important to I think while you're going through the grieving process, there's a very fine line between like, I think something I watched in a YouTube video by these coaches was like, you want to make sure that if you are in a state of grieving the relationship, it's productive grieving. So like you're grieving, but every day you're slowly making steps towards like getting to a better place. And it's not like you're just stuck in a room and just feeling sadness all the time. So when you go outside and you try to reconnect with those things that lit up the fire in you, right? So for example, like this podcast for me, it actually, I guess people wouldn't know this part, but this podcast, I mean, I had planned it since like, say, mid-June last year, right? I'd been planning it for a long time, but, I was in a relationship and then the relationship like came to an end. And like this podcast, guys, when I tell you it was started in the midst of pain, like I was going through the most, right? Like with a heartbreak. But I feel like this has brought some sort of like healing because it's given me something to look forward to. Like it's given me that because my passion and my fire is to just talk, right? Like, oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So even though it was hard in the beginning, the more I like did it, the more I did more conversations with people, like the better I felt, right? It doesn't mean that I'm at 100%, but like the more I did, the better I felt. So yeah, that's my spiel on this. Colin, let's hear from you on mind, body, soul.
Yeah, so I there's a couple of things that I relate to a lot from what Vidya said. The one tip I was going to say that I think connects a lot with what she said is taking time to take care of yourself and investing in like your health and well-being. And I guess the reason I would say that is because oftentimes when you break up with someone, like it doesn't end well. And there's probably some time leading up to that breakup where, maybe the relationship wasn't going well and maybe you're going, through your like desperate attempts to try to salvage it, or you've been broken up. So now you're, rattling all these facts in your head. Basically, there's this period of time where you kind of just lose a sense of yourself. Like you've spent all this time and energy like worrying about the relationship, the other person, and making it work or whatever, that you kind of lost like who you are and your identity and yourself. I think it's very important while you're processing a breakup to make time to take care of yourself. That means like, exercising, uh, eating good meals, trying to get good sleep, um, maybe trying to do, things like meditation, taking, good care of like your hygiene, going to your doctor's appointments, like do what you got to do to invest in your health, because it'll remind you that, okay, like you matter, and, like your time should be spent towards yourself, and like you have this self-worth that's, um, you know, that needs to be maintained. And so I think that that's a big part for me for moving on, is like, to regain a sense of myself by investing in my health, investing in my well-being. And something else that I like about what Vidya said, is when she mentioned the soul part, like she was trying to reconnect from something in her past. That was something else that I was going to say is, I think it's good when you're going through a breakup to reconnect not only with things that you enjoy, but also maybe reconnect with some people in your life. Like maybe because of your relationship, there's like certain people in your life who you didn't really see as much anymore, because of it. You just didn't have the time, or just the way the situation, the circumstance worked out. There's like people or things in your life that you have neglected for some time. I think it's good to try to reconnect with those things, because it'll help you regain again this like sense of yourself and your identity, and the people and the things in your life who matter to you. Like reconnect those things that you can feel, um, like the like regain your self-worth and your identity.
I really, really like that a lot. I think something that is definitely therapeutic is music. And it's very interesting because I've had breakups in the past where like, you know, after the breakup, all I want to do is just listen to like Adele, Someone Like You, or like Set Fire to the Rain. And, I'm like going through the most, and I'm like, I'm just crying and just, just going through the most listening to music. And then there's a time when I went through a breakup, and it was like I did not want to hear any breakup music at all. It was like I didn't want, I just needed like a vacuum in my mind of not having like other people sing about heartbreak to me, because I didn't want to hear that, right? So I think music is a very interesting thing, because sometimes it helps you go through it and sometimes it doesn't. And on the flip side too, I think listening to upbeat music can also get you out of that, like, I guess, bad mood,
Mm-hmm.
or like that sad mood, right? So maybe sometimes what will actually be good for you is to listen to, you know, Afro beats, or listen to something that's like more upbeat, and then connecting to what Vidya was saying, music that you can dance to and like connect to as well. So that's it. And actually, pop quiz, Vidya, who is your go-to artist? Do you have like a go-to artist for breakups, or a go-to song?
I do have a go-to artist. It's Billie Eilish. So,
Is there a particular song?
uh, yeah, the lovely song that gets me. And then there's this whole album. I don't remember it right now at the top of my head. But yeah, lovely's what I used to play it on repeat
Oh
and
my
then like sing those words. I'm like, yeah, she gets me. I also have like this other Indian artist I listen to, just like purely breakup song. And those songs, like those words get me because I don't know, it's more I think it's more sentimental listening to it in my native language. Like
Mm-hmm.
two lines in, then I'm crying.
I'm done. Man, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. I think it's so crazy, right? Like these artists, and I think actually something that maybe the reason why we also connect to artists' music is that when they record certain songs, they themselves are going through the most. You know what I mean? Like if
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going through a breakup and I write a song right now, I'm just saying I could go platinum. Is that the highest? I don't know. People could give me a Grammy or something like that, right?
Diamond. Diamond.
Diamond, exactly. I could get a diamond, exactly. How about you, Colin? Any go-to artist, song?
You're risking asking me about music right now, because music is just my life. We could be here forever talking about music. To answer your question, on who's my go-to artist, it's really hard for me to say, to be honest with you. I mean, I have libraries of music that I could listen to uh, going through a breakup. I mean, I'm very much into rock music, but I'm also into blues and pop. And
Mm.
I have playlists and albums that I could play. But if I had to
For
pick a
every
couple,
situation. Yeah, go ahead.
every situation's covered. Let me tell you. Um,
You're like, play this if you are the one who breaks up with the person. Play this if you are the one who's been broken up with.
yes, yes. If you broke up with me and we're on a beach somewhere, I got something for that. If you broke up with me and we're in the mountains, I got something for that.
Oh,
If
wow.
you broke up with me and we're just like sitting at home on the couch, I got something for that. Like it's all covered.
I'm
But
done.
I'll give you some samples, I guess.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
so something old school that I listen to a lot would be the song called "Yesterday" by the Beatles. That's a really
Okay.
good one. Um, I love the Beatles, and that's probably their best breakup song, in my opinion. Something a little more like pop from the 2000s that I like a lot. I like the song "The Scientist" by Coldplay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That one's really powerful and moving, I think. And then you have some like newer, more recent ones. I mean, one that comes to my mind is I kind of like the song by Bruno Mars, "When I Was Your Man." I think that one's a really good one,
Oh,
especially
Colin.
especially from like the male perspective, like that resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I also have my other songs. Like I'm really into like the pop punk from the 2000s. So I really like the song "I Miss You" by Blink 182. That one, it's kind of a special place in my heart. So I like that one too. There's a whole range of stuff. Those are some samples of what I
Wow.
listen to.
Wow.
You have all the songs. Okay. Like you
You're the
have
person to hit up for like give me the playlist. I'm going
Yes,
through it all.
yes, if you have a mood, I have a song for you.
that's amazing. No, honestly, and I think music is a very, very interesting thing. So with this breakup that I was talking about, right, where I didn't want to listen to music. I didn't want to listen to sad music because, first of all, I was just crying unprovoked, even without music. Now imagine if I was listening to sad music, right? How that would be. So anyway, so this one time, I'm like, you know what? I should just now listen to something more upbeat. And like I tell you, it's like I went through this breakup, and the song that I got attached to after the breakup was Whitney Houston, "I Want to Dance with Somebody." And, how it even
Oh.
happened was I had my headphones on, right? And I was wearing like this large oversized t-shirt. I was drinking water out of like a wine glass for some reason, because who knows, maybe my glasses weren't washed. So like I'm like listening to whatever. Then that song starts playing. Oh my gosh, guys. And I danced. So like you wouldn't have thought that, like it was so crazy because like I started listening to the song, I started smiling, and I started dancing, and it actually like lifted my whole mood. So there's something that's released from dancing and happiness.
That, that's like music video material right there. I
Right?
It is.
wish, I
I
wish
know as
someone I
when
wish
you were
someone got that on video.
yeah.
Story of my life, guys. I'm telling you. Alrighty. I think I guess one other tip that I would give for myself, well, I wouldn't give for myself. I guess one tip I would give is kind of pivoting from what we just spoke about music and all of that stuff. I think it's really important to also watch how often you speak about your ex, right? After a breakup. So for example, I went through a breakup, and so I had, like quite a number of friends, right? I would say who I was talking to, and they all knew what I was going through and all of that stuff. So one of my friends, I want to say maybe this was like a month or so after the breakup. So she goes, "Michelle," we were on the phone and we're really close. So I didn't even take offense to what she said at all. And actually, I appreciated her bringing this up. She's like, "Michelle, you bring him up all the time. Like you bring him up in conversation." And it's not even like I was bringing him up like I'm venting. I wasn't even venting about it. It would be like, it's kind of like crazy things where it's like even the most unnecessary, like his name didn't have to come up, right? But I'm like, "Oh, like I remember I went to Starbucks with Mr. So and so." And she's like, "Girl, you don't have to talk about him all the time. Like you have a life without him." So I think after she called that out to me, I had to be very like intentional. I think I actually told myself, okay, I'm gonna go for a whole month without mentioning his name. Just because it was a habit. I would just talk about him. And I think the more I talked about him, it made me feel like I was so close to him, even though like we were not together anymore.
I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. I mean, it is important that like as you're going through the breakup, you try to start living like a new chapter or a new life. And so I guess to help you do that, you have to like, also put it in your vocabulary to like not be mentioning him all the time, because that just makes you like still hold on to this past chapter of your life and not really move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. I really like that. Colin, any other tips that you want to bring up?
Yeah, well, kind of segueing off of that, I think a tip that really has helped me in the past get through breakups is okay. You've processed everything you need to process from this chapter of your life. Now it's time to start thinking about the next chapter of your life and start looking forward or envisioning your new life or envisioning your new future, and really like think about like what does the new you look like, and envision like maybe there's like some new goals you want to set for yourself, whether it's professionally or personally. Maybe there's some like new hobbies you want to get into. Maybe there's like a new kind of routine you want to get into. Whatever it is, like start envisioning what your new life is going to look like on your own, because I think that can really help you. Instead of like dwelling on your past, start looking forward to your future and start motivating you to like pick yourself up off your feet and doing what you got to do to work towards these new goals and work towards this new future you've set for yourself. And that'll really help you move on in like a healthy way, because instead of like just doing things for the sake of moving on, now you're actually doing something for yourself to better yourself, to grow, and to try to be a better version of yourself going forward. So that's the tip that I think really helped me, is like try to envision your next chapter and start writing that next story of your life.
Oh, that's deep. I love that. I like that a lot. Start envisioning your future and start writing that next chapter. Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to writing, you write it one word at a time, right? And that's how breakups are. It's like after the breakup, it's really taking things one step at a time. And then before you know it, hopefully you will be in that next chapter. I know it's something that Vidya is really good at, just like in general, is making connections with new people. Vid, like, what would you? She's laughing because, like, this girl, I'm telling you, like,
Are you
I'll
gonna
deal with
bring up my QR
her.
code?
Yeah. So Vidya, this is how you know if Vidya like likes you or like connected with you as a person, is like she'll meet you and then like at the end of like whatever activity we're doing as a group, she'll be like, can I get your QR code for Instagram? And then she connects with people. So anyway, so that's why she was laughing. Vince, in terms of making connections with new people, are there any thoughts around that? Like especially when someone's going through a breakup?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Colin said. Also, you and I have talked about this, Michelle, and I think you have encouraged me to also envision that next chapter of my life and sit and feel that I am a whole person. I can move forward. This is not the end. And you have helped me tremendously to sort of see that vision. And I also agree that you need to take some time. Of course, you can't go out then lead other people on when you're emotionally unavailable. I mean,
Hmm.
unless the other person is also looking for something like that, then it's fine, I guess. But it's important to connect with other people just so you know that you're capable of making these connections and building these relationships. And sometimes meeting a new person, even if it's not romantic, it gives you perspective. It teaches you something new about your own self. Sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't know I could just go out to a coffee shop and do that. I have surprised myself in a lot of ways. I'm not one to go out and make like first friends to bring to my friend circle. But ever since I moved here, I've been that person who's like meeting a lot of new people.
Hmm.
And that has given me a lot of confidence in how I can build relationships and remind me that, oh, I do have interesting hobbies. I guess I do connect with people with this sort of interest and hobbies. Like I'm also relearning who I am right now. And that has been really important. And one other thing that I learned from this one podcast and author I listened to, his name is Dr. Vivek Murthy. He's actually the Surgeon General of the United States.
Oh wow.
So he said, like, we need reciprocal relationship on the outside to be connected with ourselves, and vice versa. It's kind of like the chicken and egg story. They work off each other. You sort of have to make a connection to be connected with yourself. You have to be connected with yourself to make a connection on the
Oh
outside.
wow.
So it's like this interplay between being and doing, and then eventually with time, it will come together. So you can't like go to the next phase of your chapter without going out there. But there is the element of, oh, what if I'm not ready? What if I'm still figuring myself out? Yes, that's very valid. So you sort of have to interplay both of that. And then at some point in time, they will come together. And another thing I'll add is, if it's too scary to just go out there and like meet people and talk to people, like you don't have to meet with romantic interests, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, like, you could like try online dating, just create a profile, chat with people, see how that makes you feel. You're sort of like collecting information about yourself. At the same time, it's not a commitment where you're, trying to lead people on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really helps in terms of getting those steps to the next chapter.
I like that a lot. And I think even when we're talking about making connections with new people, I kind of see it in two ways. So you can make connections with new people who you might potentially be interested in dating or being in a relationship with later, right? So if I come out of a breakup after some time, I might be like, okay, I'm ready to go out there and just make connections with people and see what I like out there on the market. The other way of looking at it is making new connections with just people who are not in your I guess circle of friends, your current circle of friends. So for example, right, like when you're going through a breakup, um let's say most of your friends know that you're going through the breakup. And so every single conversation you have with your friends, they're like, how are you doing? Has he said anything to you? Have you said anything to him?
Right.
How are you feeling now? It's like every single time you're having a conversation, people are checking on it, which is great because I mean that's what friends are for, or family, right? They want to check on how you're doing as a person. But you might also just be like, I want to just have connections with people who don't know anything about my life, right? So I think that's where, like, when you make connections with new people, you don't have to disclose that you're going through a breakup. And you can almost start to have a life where you have these people who you can talk about like non-breakup related stories. And I think it's a healthy thing because at the same time, like you don't want to always talk about like the relationship and where you are now emotionally, right? You also want to talk about like other things that are out there in life that have nothing to do with like your ex. So that's something that I would say on there. Does someone have like a closing tip or a closing statement that they want to give before we sign off?
I think it's helpful also, like kind of like in the meantime, to like kind of keep yourself busy and make plans like pretty consistently. Like instead of just like having nothing on the calendar and you're just like going through your dull life and you have all this time on the calendar to just like think and dwell, like instead try to fill your calendar with things to do, whether it's like plans with friends or doing some random hobbies, or even if it's just like making time for yourself, like, oh, tonight I'm gonna like read a book or watch this movie I've been wanting to see. Like, give yourself things on the calendar, make yourself busy, so that like you're not spending too much time like overthinking things. Like you actually are creating yourself this new life, and living it, and giving yourself like the sense of, okay, I'm not in this like old chapter anymore. I'm in this new chapter now.
Oh, I
Like
absolutely love it.
I'm living my new chapter.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
love
really
that.
like that. Yeah, I think, it's helpful, especially let's say, for example, if you work Mondays to Fridays, because then, oh, maybe like from 9 to 5:30, I'm just so occupied with work that like I'm not gonna spend time thinking about my ex. And then maybe, you might schedule like Tuesdays, guys. Here's a tip. Tuesdays, movies are half off. So get yourself a ticket and go to AMC and watch a movie. You know what I mean? And then have something to look forward to on Thursday as well, just so that you have those breaks in thoughts so that you're just not
Yeah.
in your thoughts all the time.
Yeah, that's really helpful, guys.
How about you, Vidya? Do you have any final tips or thoughts?
I don't have final tips, but I do have like a closing statement that I've been holding, but I was like, I'm gonna say this in the end. Michelle, you said like this podcast, like I know it happened in the middle of your breakup. I want to say the fire that you lit from this podcast is like burning so bright, and
Oh,
you have like lighted up in a lot of people around you, like so many other listeners too. And you're showing like this is how the next chapter can be, this is how the story can be. And I love how a lot of the tips that we're talking about, it's sort of showing in what you're doing with this podcast and in your life. And that's pretty amazing.
oh my gosh, guys, I'm just so
I
blessed.
agree.
I'm so blessed to like, you should see my face. I'm literally blushing right now. I think I'm just really blessed and fortunate to have great friends. So
No,
I'm so grateful. Go ahead,
I,
Colin.
I agree. I mean, you are doing a very special and meaningful and powerful thing with this podcast. I mean, I think it was mentioned before that one of the tips, quote unquote, was maybe listen to some podcast, whatever. I think that's what a lot of listeners are doing right now. They're
Yeah.
listening to your podcast, Michelle, because they are trying to get through their relationship issues, and you're helping them. So
Oh,
thank you for
wow.
starting this, and it's a great, wonderful thing, and I really hope you keep doing it because you're helping a lot of people.
Guys, this was so emotional. Jeez, like I did not see this episode ending this way. So thank you so much for honestly for the support that you've given me, just even during this episode, and you guys sharing what you've gone through with other people, because I know that this is going to help a lot of people. So I'm really grateful, and I think to kind of bring it full circle, something that we were talking about was friends and family and the big part that they play in terms of helping someone when they're coming out of a breakup. I would not have been able to put this out without the support of my friends and my family with like the stuff that I was going through. So I'm super, super grateful for having really, really great friends. And I know like Vidya and I, for example, we're in Boston together. And like when I tell you she always made plans with me to like do stuff. It really helped me. It took me out of like, sadness. Like I had moments of like, oh wow, like, joy, or like she would be like, oh, come over, and I would sleep over at her house for like a whole week. And so I'm super, super grateful to all my friends and, family, everyone
Aw.
who's listening to this. Wow, what an episode to have this statement, guys. But I really do want to say I really appreciate all the support. Everyone who listens to this podcast, thank you so much for listening and for sharing. And I want to say that this is a podcast for the people by the people. And that's why I want to get like, people with different perspectives and, whether it's like friends of friends, family, have people come on here and like share what they've learned so that in the end, we have this movement where we can have relationships that are happy and healthy. So thank you both so much for doing this. And thank you so much for all these words of encouragement that you said. I was like blushing like a child. It's crazy, crazy.
You deserve it. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Michelle.
Oh,
You're the best.
thank you. And thank you so much to everybody who was listening. If you have any like questions that you want to ask Colin and Vidya, or if you have any, tips or any thoughts that you want to share, feel free to hit me up at Unpacking Love. That's it from us, guys. Peace.